guys, and welcome to another video of Shea Says. So I want to make a new video series about one of my favorite TV shows of all time, Gilmore Girls. So this video is like the introduction of like how I got into the show, trips that I've taken that were Gilmore Girls related over the years, and stuff like that. The story of how I got into the show has to do with my grandma and my mom. So when I think I was in second grade, my grandma would come over every Tuesday and babysit my brother and I while my mom went to a yoga class. And that was the same night that Gilmore Girls was on. And sometimes she'd let us stay up and watch the show with her. Like, I specifically remember it. I look back and that was around like when season 2 was on the air. So that's around the time period. So I was pretty young when the show was actually on TV. But yeah, that's how I initially got into the TV show. Then I think I kind of, like, as I was getting older in like 5th or 6th grade maybe, I had asked for a season of Gilmore Girls for Christmas. And that was when I think season 5 had come out recently. So that was like the newest DVD that was out. So I had gotten season 5 for Christmas. I went into that season without knowing like pretty much anything else. But ironically, season 5 is one of my favorite seasons of Gilmore Girls. And then over the years, I started buying more seasons and watching them in order. And at one point, we had never seen season 7 at all. Around the time period that the series like actually ended, I think, that we were doing this, my brother and my mom and I. I remember literally going to FYE in our local mall that, of course, sadly doesn't exist anymore. And we were looking for season 7 and we found it. And I remember specifically my mom and I having a conversation with the cashier, and he had said that him and his girlfriend were watching the show together, and he was asking us what team we were on, and of course we said Logan, and I think they were team Jess, but he wasn't too happy with us. So again, I remember when we were in the midst of watching season 7 for the first time, my grandma again had been babysitting my brother and I, and she had never seen it either. So we ended up watching, I remember we wanted to wait till my mom got home to actually watch like the last episode, but I remember like we did it anyway just because we were so into it, even though season 7's not really anyone's favorite, sadly, but I think it's actually not that bad. It's not great because season 7 is when the creator, Amy Sherman Palladino, wasn't a part of the show anymore. It wasn't awful. I mean, it definitely has its flaws, but I think the series finale was really good. Flash forward to when the revival was coming out, I was so excited. So it came out on Black Friday 2016. When we watched the revival, we literally had a whole marathon. We watched all 4 of, they were like hour-long like mini movie type things, and we watched the whole thing at my grandma's house on Black Friday, the day it came out. With the revival, not that I didn't like it, but there were definitely parts that were not my favorite. Like, I think because it went through the season, so each movie was a season, and winter and fall were definitely really good, but I remember not really liking spring or summer. But it was really nice going back into that world, and I don't think it's necessary if they make another one, like another movie or something like that. I mean, I definitely watch it, no questions. Without giving any spoilers away, before the revival, like, it was known that Amy Sherman Palladino like had known the last, I think, like 3 words of the whole series, and since she didn't get to do her series finale, she did it in the revival. I don't want to give anything away, but I think it could have been changed. But I feel like her last 3 words didn't really match up to what was going on in the show, in the revival anyway. So yeah, so that's how I got started into Gilmore Girls, and it was definitely like a family affair. So my grandma, my mom, my brother, and my extended family too really enjoy the show. But it was definitely something special that we shared with my grandma. So over the years, I have taken a few trips to Gilmore Girls related places. So the first trip we took was to Washington Depot, Connecticut, which is the town that inspired Stars Hollow in Gilmore Girls. I think my family and I went around 2017. So it was my mom, my brother, and I, and it was like a short trip, but I'll go over like what we did there. So our trip to Washington Depot was really nice. And it is a very small town, but it was fun seeing different like landmarks in the town that inspired Stars Hollow. So I have a bag of, I wouldn't say memorabilia, but like things that I collected over the trip. There's a Gilmore Girls like tour of everything, and I'll show this closer too. But it was in the Hickory Stick bookshop, which possibly inspired Stars Hollow books. But it had every place that you can see in the town that was possibly inspired by Gilmore Girls or actually was inspired. First on the list is Marty's Cafe, which we did go to, and it says, "This looks nothing like Luke's, but you'll get that social atmosphere that we all love about Luke's Diner. Almost everyone in Marty's knows each other, and it's the best coffee in town. Go there and just sit and observe for a little while." The next spot on the list is Cafe on the Green. Just up the hill from Marty's, you'll find Cafe on the Green on Kirby Road. This is where you'll get the aesthetic look of Luke's Diner. I don't know if we actually ate there, but I do have pictures of it. The next on the list is I'm gonna mispronounce this, the Gunnery School. Keep going past Cafe on the Green on Kirby Road and you'll find the Gunnery, aka Chillin'. Now this was definitely inspired by Gilmore Girls. The Mayflower Grace Inn. Welcome to the Dragonfly/Independence Inn. This is allegedly the hotel Amy Sherman Palladino was staying in when she thought of the show. It's beautiful and gorgeous. Feel free to stop and have brunch. So I don't think we went inside. We just took pictures of the outside just so we knew that that was the inn. Next is the Pantry. Back in the town center, you'll find the Pantry. It's a great little restaurant very akin to Weston's, where Lorelai and Rory go when they're mad at Luke. Their food is delicious. The Washington Food Market. Dosie's Market, located in the plaza right across from the Hickory Stick bookshop, where our town hall is also located. The Gazebo. You'll notice that we don't have one. For this, we suggest you head to New Milford, which I think is close to... I think New Milford might have been another town that was like inspired by Stars Hollow, or it was just close to it. I don't remember. Titus Park and Garage. Right behind the Hickory Stick and next to the Pantry, you'll find what could have easily been Gypsy's garage. Worth the photo op at least. Lastly, the Hickory Stick bookshop. No doubt Rory would have spent some serious time here shopping or volunteering or looking for inspiration when texting her overseas boyfriend. Ooh, they also, I'll tag them, they also have a Instagram account, Real Stars Hollow Life. So I'll check that out. So I did take photos on my Polaroid, but then I took actual photos too. So they don't mention the church, but I'll get another photo too. But this church looks exactly like the one in Gilmore Girls, I think. This might be the town hall? Not sure. This is just a picture of Washington Depot sign. I have a picture of me next to it too. Hickory Stick bookshop. And then this is the inn that Amy Sherman Palladino allegedly stayed in. I have a business card from Marty's. So when we did go to the bookshop, I think it was in the bookshop that I got these postcards. And then this is the one in the church. It looks exactly like the one in Stars Hollow. Come on. Also in the bookshop, I got this cookbook, Eat Like a Gilmore. And I have some pictures from the bookshop too, where they had like Gilmore Girls stuff. I'm pretty sure this was near where the tour guide was. But I haven't cooked anything in here, but it's really like a great book. I think it's a really good book for fans of Gilmore Girls. It has different categories like Emily's House, A Town Favorite, Luke's Diner, Sugi's Kitchen. So I think now I need to make a video of me cooking some of this stuff. I love how like every recipe there's like a story of like why it's included in this and like stuff from the show. This is just a menu from the Washington Market. I have a menu from Marty's. This is just a map of Washington. Okay, and then this I bought because the Litchfield County Times, if you know Gilmore Girls, they mention Litchfield a lot in the show, among like other towns in Connecticut that are actually real. So that was our trip to Washington Depot, Connecticut. It was so much fun, and I definitely recommend any fan of Gilmore Girls to go there. My other Gilmore Girls trip was my mom and I visited Yale. We went in October of 2020. It was still very much like we were in the pandemic, so we had to wear masks everywhere. I had to get a Handsome Dan plush. If you didn't know, he is the mascot of Yale. There's an episode where actually I have to check if it actually is the real Dan or just a bulldog. They go to the Harvard Yale game and they see Dan, like the actual Handsome Dan. So we went we visited Yale slash, I guess, New Haven, and it was such a good trip. Like, I want to go back so badly. So we stayed in this Airbnb in New Haven, I think. I will link it down below. So it was like a 3-story house, I think, and you can actually rent each level, I'm pretty sure. We rented the top level, and oh my god, like I'll put pictures in here too. The owners, the wife was a retired, I think she was a retired English teacher or a retired librarian. Oh my god, they had my dream room. It was so cozy. It was like, it had the comfiest like couches and chairs, and then just bookshelves and a window. Oh my god, it was like floor to ceiling bookshelves. It was so nice. I loved it so much. So during that trip, we definitely explored the campus. So this picture reminded me of the Lorelai's first day at Yale. Like I'll show this picture and then show what I'm talking about. But I had to take a picture in front of this because it just reminded me of when Rory was moving to Yale for the first time. This picture I took because when they took the road trip to Harvard, Lorelai was looking at this bulletin board. I saw one at Yale and just reminded me of that. This is a picture of a bench. If you watched Gilmore Girls season 5, Rory does a tour of Yale with someone who went to Chilton, and she's like very in depth describing these benches. So I took a photo of one, and then I have a photo of me on the bench. I don't know if it had any significance though. This is the library. We didn't go inside. I can't remember if we weren't allowed to at the time. I don't think the campus was really open for visitors, so if you weren't a student, you couldn't go in, but I'm sure it might be different now. It was the Sterling Memorial Library, which I'm pretty sure they specifically mentioned this in the show during like conversation between Rory and Richard. And this is just the area around the library. And there's my mom in the area near the library. It was like a big field, and then the buildings were around it. This is also just a picture near the library, and I thought it did very much look like Gilmore Girls. If you zoom in, there's a squirrel that I took a picture of because also in the road trip to Harvard, they find a Harvard squirrel and they take photos of him and show him on a slideshow to Emily. So when I saw a squirrel, I had to take a picture of a Yale squirrel. I took a picture of this, and it says Durfee's, which I don't know if Rory lived in this dorm. Picture of this because I feel like someone lived in this dorm building. Of course, I had to have a photo shoot because I was living my Rory Gilmore life. So here's a picture of my mom and I. We did get Yale masks, of course. So here's a picture of Brantford College, and this is definitely where Rory lived in this dorm building. There were a lot of signs of Handsome Dan on these like signs saying like wear a mask and practice social distancing. So of course I took a picture with one because it was really cute. This is a picture of the Yale Peabody Museum, which I'm like almost 100% sure was mentioned in the show. I was hoping to meet Handsome Dan on the streets of Yale. Sadly, never did. I really wish I could have met the real Handsome Dan. This is a picture of me and my mom. We went to a breakfast place and sat outside. So another fun thing we did on our trip, we did this like virtual scavenger hunt type thing. It might have been an app. I think it was from an app, and I'll link that too. And I think they have them like all over the country really. But it was like I don't know if it was just Yale or like New Haven. We walked a lot and you had to take photos and stuff. It was actually really fun. You had to explore places that you probably wouldn't have looked at if you weren't doing the scavenger hunt. So that was fun. Of course, we took a trip to the Yale bookstore, which was my dream. So you can see in the picture that it was like the Yale bookstore, but it was also a Barnes & Noble, but it was still like a unique, it wasn't like a copy of Barnes & Noble. So of course I had to take a picture of this because it has Handsome Dan, but then it also has their fight chant, whatever you want to call it. Also during our trip, the Pez Museum, I think it is, the Pez Museum was, I think like a half hour away maybe. We did that during our trip and that was a lot of fun. So I have some pictures from that. We took a ton, so I'm only going to show like the main ones. Oh, it was the Pez Visitor Center. That was what it was called. But it was a lot of fun. It was just a random thing that we did on our trip. Took a picture of the Yale School of Drama because that is mentioned. It's definitely mentioned when Rory was deciding to go to Yale, and Lorelai said the Yale School of Drama had a lot of famous people come out of it, like Meryl Streep. This I'll have to look up what it was. I feel like it had something to do with the society that I don't know if it was based off of or just that Yale also has an actual secret society. I think the Yale one was like Skull and Bones, and then in the show it was the Life and Death Brigade. So I think this building had something to do with that. This was near the bookstore. So that was him. There's me with him. My mom is with him. And both of us are with him. So yeah, that was our trip to Yale. I definitely would love to go back. So the trips that I haven't taken yet that I really want to are, I want to take a trip to Harvard. And then my dream is to go to the WB lot in California and visit actual Stars Hollow. I think I'd cry if I went there. So just other notes of Gilmore Girls that are in my life that just show how big of an impact this show has on me. Like, I literally relate everything back to Gilmore Girls. Pretty much anything can be related back to Gilmore Girls. I'm very behind on it. I feel like I've been working on this since high school, which is kind of sad. So if you don't know, Gilmore Girls has a ton of pop culture references in like every episode. There's just so many references, and a bulk of them just go over my head most of the time. So my goal like I said, I started this in high school. My goal was to watch every episode and write down every time they made a reference. So I was doing that, and then I was typing it up pretty much like for myself. I did gift like a little like few episodes to my grandma at one point, but I made it into a WordPress like blog. I did get up to season 3, I think, like typed out. I am way farther than that with writing down the references, but actually typing them up. So I will link that blog down below, and I definitely hope to get farther in it. That's very useful if you want to actually understand what the references mean. And last thing I'm gonna say that's Gilmore Girls related, I discovered this podcast a couple years ago, I think. It's called Gilmore to Say, and it's hosted by Tara and Haley. And when I tell you, like, when I first listened to this podcast, it was like finally people who knew Gilmore Girls as much as I did, and that was just like such a good feeling. So I definitely recommend their podcast. They do way more than just a podcast. They have stuff on Patreon. They have a Gilmore Revisited where they go through a rewatch of each episode. And they also have like a Gilmore Girls reading club, do events, like live events. And then also recently, a few days ago, they did a Gilmore Galentine, which is so much fun. It's a Galentine's like virtual event. If you're a Gilmore Girls fan, I definitely recommend listening to their podcast. But if you have not watched the series through, don't watch it. Don't listen to it, because there's definitely like, it's not spoiler free. So I recommend listening to them after you've seen every episode. So I think that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. This is just the intro video of like how I got into Gilmore Girls and everything like that. So I'm thinking like the next videos in this series would be like ranking seasons, ranking episodes, stuff like that. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye!